Hi, folks, with Tacitus today. Tacitus today, your pushback channel, and thank you for joining this audio live stream. As you know, people that have followed this channel are aware, I'm a firm believer that India, third world migration generally, but Indian migration, given the volume of Indians that are coming into the West, is the most dangerous and destructive migration that you could possibly have. Now, just recently in the United States, almost every day there's a story out of the United States now about corrupt Indian practices, corrupt in labor hire firms, corrupt hiring of people Indians into, H-1B visas, as they call them in the United States, corrupt practices hiring Indians into your corporate IT jobs, subcontracting jobs, the amount of corruption that goes on there, the kickbacks, the secret payments, the corruption in getting driver's licenses or commercial licenses to truck driving licenses, and that business with that Singh dude from the Punjab or something recently, instrumental in killing those people on the Florida highway. And the lengths that they go to, again, the secret under the table payments, the corruption. Now, India is a country where corruption is a standard way of life. No one thinks it's wrong or bad. It's just how you do things. And when you get somewhere between 3,000 and 4,000 people applying for every job that's in India, you'll do anything you can to jump the queue or get round the line or get in front of the line. If that means you've got to bribe somebody, then hey, what's the problem? But they don't see anything morally wrong with bribery. It's just how things are. So when they come to the West with those attitudes, they say they've got to do a test to get a truck driving license. Well, they can't really speak the language. They don't have the expertise to drive a truck. So what do? They have to go in and do this test. They have to go into the Department of Motor Transport or the registry, whatever it's called. And so what they do is they go in with a camera that scans the screen of the test they're doing, this online test. And then they've got an earpiece, and someone outside looks at the screen, and then an Indian person that speaks good English that maybe has genuinely passed the test. And then they tell you, okay, say this, do that. Okay, that's number C. Okay, that one's number A, and get them through. So they'll pass the test without being able to speak a word of English or knowing which end of the truck is which. So they can do that. So and they'll pay this person. Will get $200 or $300 for doing it. But the whole chain of how Indians end up in the West, all of it's corrupt. I don't think there may be the odd one or two Indian that's actually here in the West genuinely, but every step of the way where they've got some sort of hurdle to cross, like they have to meet a standard of education, they just bribe people to get around that. They have to claim that they've got a standard of English. They bribe somebody. And there's somebody, some Indian guy in India that works for the Australia, some Western embassy or immigration department, could be Australian, American, or whatever. So they'll just claim a few hundred. There are gazillions, pretty much everyone in the fucking Indian subcontinent, be they Bangladeshi, Pakistani, Indian, Sri Lankan, they all want to get the fuck out of there and come to the West. Every single one of them. Oh, with the odd exception of the super rich Brahmin. But so there's no shortage of people, standing in line. Often a whole village, not particularly well off, a whole village will pool all their resources just to get one of their number into the West, just to get one of them, because in this idea that, well, once they're in, they'll be able to bring the whole family and the whole fucking village out to the West. And so they'll just give this person all the money they need to pay the bribes. Now, the bribes can, given all the people they have to bribe, not only to get out of India, but get through the immigration process, to pretend that they've got, triple PhDs to get to the West, or they're going to enroll in some college and they've got to make a down payment, all of this stuff. So it can cost, an Indian $10,000 to get to the fucking West, all the bribes they have to pay. But they're not there legitimately. They don't come with skills, abilities, capabilities, knowledge. They're not adding value to anything. They've just come to parasite off the system. And once they get to the West, typically there'll be an Indian subcontracting company that will be again part of this process. Yet more corruption. It's widespread in Australia as it is in the United States and elsewhere, and in Britain and so on. So they get to, we'll say Australia in this case, a Western country, whatever it is, and and then they'll be given some sort of job through some corrupt subcontracting thing, and then they have to pay part of their salary to the subcontractor company that's arranging it all. So now on top of that, they'll be stacked in at 20 to a 2-bedroom apartment and this and that. So, and they've got to pay that, but they'll still have some money left over to send, and $20 US a week or something sent to some dirt poor, shitbox Indian village. That's a decent amount of money. So for them, it's a decent amount of money over there. So that's still a something to be, you go to great sacrifices in terms of bribery and borrowing money to pay the bribes to get to the Western country, because you can then find a job. Now they'll always get a job because they'll work for below market rates, so below the legal rate. And just if you look, there's recently a thing in England, I think it was Britain, where they measured they recorded the wage of third world work Indians and so on. They recorded the wage of workers working in things like, food delivery, pizza delivery, or working, as wait staff in, say, a cafe or a restaurant, something like that, cleaning hotel rooms and that sort of thing, that they're being paid roughly about a quarter of the going wage rate. So if the wage rate's, $10, for example, $10 an hour for those entry-level type jobs, then the Indian worker's getting paid $2.50 an hour. Now they're quite happy to work extra hours to bump it up a bit, but that's it. That's the sort of standard that's there. Now they have to then stay in property that's owned by the same corrupt scam artist that brought them out to the West, and they have to live there. Then there are deductions. So when there's an investigation, the corrupt Indian scammers say, well, no, I'm actually paying them $10 an hour, but I'm just making deductions for food and lodging. And that's why they're only getting $2.50. I mean, that's a bit of a stretch and quite a tenuous argument. The reality is it's as corrupt as fuck. That's what it is. That's the reality. And that's the at all levels. This is what the Indian migration is. Now, just to give you an idea of the extent of this, out of the last 20 years of migration into Australia, the last 20 years, Indian migration has been number one in terms of the numbers coming in, number one for 16 of those 20 years. For 1 year or 1 or 2 years, Chinese migration was higher. And then there was migration from, I think it was New Zealand and somewhere else was high. But when you actually pick apart the numbers from New Zealand, or actually UK was one, then New Zealand, when you pick apart those numbers, it's remigration of black and brown people who are doing the loop around the white countries, to come to Australia. So if you go on to New Zealand, which is, say, if it's easier to get into New Zealand, spend a couple of years there, you get a residency permit, then you come to Australia. So that's the scam that goes on. And Indians are if there's any scam in migration at all, any scam, Indians are at the absolute forefront, right at the front of the line on this. And so they come over in vast numbers. So 16 out of 20 years, they're the largest number. In 7 of those 16 years, the Indians have come over in such numbers that their migration alone is greater than all the others combined, every other place on the planet combined. This is how many Indians are pouring into Australia. 2 years ago, there was a suburb in the far outer suburbs of Sydney where you wouldn't see a brown person. And I was there just recently. It's become a fucking Indian enclave. In 2 years, for goodness sakes. That's how many Indians are coming in. And they're absolutely, the level of entitlement that they have is just off the charts. And the government is creating jobs for them. There are large companies that have diversity, equity, inclusion quotas that guarantee Indians jobs. So these Indians with no qualifications or work experience or anything you'd even piss on are walking straight into decent paying middle class jobs. The jobs that white people can't get. So this is the thing now. Well, something that's interesting in the United States is they're starting to clamp down on H-1B visa fraud. So there's a lot of Indian, particularly the upper class Indians, getting jobs, say, in IT maintenance and computer coding and programming, those sort of jobs that otherwise would have gone to Americans. Now, there are large companies there that maybe employ 2,000 or 3,000 IT professionals to manage their IT systems and so on. And they've just recently done a thing where they clamped down don't ever promote an Indian into a senior management role, because they will, as flies go to shit, they will turn that into a corrupt. They will find a way of turning into corrupt practice of demanding kickbacks and secret payments for dispensing. That's how things are in India. That's how they do it. And they come to the West and they bring all their corrupt practices with them. And so you got these people signing off on skilled worker visas and engaging in every scam and corrupt practice imaginable to bring out their Indian buddies who then kick back. There are some of these guys the Indian guys at a senior level in Western, say, American companies. Some of them are getting in the value of their kickbacks is between $500,000 and $600,000 a month. And if you're in the position to bring in contractors from India, scam contractors from India, and you just inflate the numbers of people, and you can bring out thousands of them. Here's the national IT department of this American firm is about 1,500 people. Nearly 1,300 of them are Indians. Now, you don't need to be a genius to say, hey, there's something strange going on here. You mean to say that there's no local Americans in computer coding and computer IT systems maintenance to available to do these jobs? Are you kidding me? So that's the extent and the volume, if you like, of the corrupt practices. But these people aren't IT experts or anything. They're just there to fill out a list of folks that will pay kickbacks. Now, remember that the people that are coming over from India, that they are maniacally desperate to get the fuck out of India, will do anything, will pay any bribe, commit, anything they have to get out of India. And if the sleazy, corrupt Indian dude at the top wants a kickback of, a couple of $100 a week, so not a problem, done. And then they hope upon hope they're going to get a green card or a residency permit or something. So, but this is the extent of it, and it doesn't matter where you look, whether it's in Canada, Australia, or Britain, United States, anywhere where Indians go in quantity, and if it's not tightly controlled for merit-based immigration, wherever they go, their corrupt practices on a massive, monumental scale will follow. And has become entrenched and endemic, which is how it is all over. The only way to do the reset is to stop all Indian migration, other than the people at the very apex of the skills pyramid, and then mass repatriation. That's the only thing you can do, and that's the only way to reset it. So I would argue that every day goes by where this mass Indian migration continues is leading directly to the destruction of the Western world. Because when all the Indians get out of there, out of India or out of the subcontinent generally, out of there, that there are so many of them that they will destroy the host that they're parasiting off. But they don't think of more than 5 minutes ahead. They can't. They're not capable of that. All they think of, can I get out of India today? And that's all they think about. And can I get to the rich West today? That's it. And they can't think beyond getting the residency permit. That's it. That's all they can. Their whole horizon is just built and corruptly built around that. So this is what I believe has to happen. Now, so I had some people sort of respond and say, well, there are some very bright. Sure. And out of every 100 Indians that come as migrants, there is maybe just one that is actually a valuable asset to the West or to Australia or America, but that's it. Maybe if we fall over ourselves with generosity, it'll be two, but that no more than that. And that's the level that we have to say that, okay, out of the 250,000 Indians that came to Australia last year. Maybe in reality, there's 1,000 or 2,000 that are useful to the economy and with the skills. And if they want to come in, that's fine. They should be welcomed in. They should be welcomed in it if they are meritoriously skilled and capable with skills that are needed in the country. No problem at all. Wave them in. But for the other 98%, the other 235, 240,000, no, they all have to go back and shouldn't be let in the first place. They are destroying the West with their corrupt practices, their sleazy deals. They are destroying us, and we're standing by and letting it happen. You've been with Tacitus today, your Pushback Channel, and thank you for listening.